You hear how strong he is. He's a beast. He's this and that, but he's not some sort of madman that's got no emotion. He's just like you and me. He's just your average lad, but with this ridiculous physical strength and ability and determination.
Hi and welcome to Shadowboxr. My name is Jacqui-Lee Pryce, and today's guest, I'm doing something a little bit different. Going back to the grassroots, I'm here with Sam Noakes' amateur coach, Lee Owen. How you doing? You all right?
I'm all right, thank you. Cheers.
How you doing? Good. Listen, it's good to actually take it back to the grassroots. And I wanted to get you on here because I think I said this to you before, that sometimes like the amateur coaches don't get enough. Do you know what I mean? Don't get enough praise.
I think they do. They do, to be fair. But I think sometimes the work they put in to people, maybe they just follow the pros, gets underestimated, if that makes sense. So I think parents of the boxers, they know how much work they know how often we're out with the boys, how often we train them, competitions, championships all week. So I think a lot of people do know what we put in, but maybe the average guy that watches a lot of pro boxing and watches these amateurs come through don't realise the work that's been done beforehand. It's almost like they're amateurs now, the real work starts. It doesn't. They've been working hard for the last 6 years, even at 11 years old. So maybe some fans don't see that side of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's important also, like, when they get to the professionals, and this is no disrespect to a professional coach, but they are inheriting a product, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of the groundwork's done, The lad or the girl knows they want to be a boxer, and they want to be a fighter, yeah. So, they've been through some tough training regime, tough bouts, tough championships. They've been through all the emotions already. So they are, they are already a boxer. I'm not saying there's nothing to work on or nothing to improve, nothing to develop, but they are sort of ready made, yeah.
But in terms of just like, it's the hard stuff like footwork. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Basic things like teaching someone footwork.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Teaching someone how to hold their hands up properly.
As someone said to me, it's difference from teaching and coaching. Anyone can grab not anyone, that's the wrong thing to say, but people can coach and sort of a ready-made fighter, adapt, put their spin on them, adapt this, change that for the better. I'm not saying they're not making them better, but to get someone in raw who doesn't know a thing about boxing, just sitting it on the telly, and their brother do it, and I want to learn now, I think that's a lot harder. That's a whole new ball game.
I have to agree because I've come from that background, but it's hours and hours of work, even before, would you say a season or 2 seasons before you put a kid out?
Westry, we're probably, to be fair, slow movers, yeah. So usually at least a year. Very rarely. I mean, there was one kiddie that boxed for us with George, actually. He was a bit special, strong as a bull. Really keen, and he was like a sponge, and I think he got out boxing in about 4 or 5 months. But that's sort of rare. Usually, I'd say a year at least. Yeah. And I've held him back for 2 years. Some of the lads, yeah. And
you're talking about George. Just tell me a bit about George. So George, effectively, we've just used his gym, haven't we, to film? So thanks ever so much for that. What's George's full name?
George Armani.
George Armani, as in Armani.
Oh,
I don't know. But what's his gym called?
Armani's, George Armani Gym, yeah.
So he's just let us use the gym. Really grateful for that. But yeah, he was a bit special though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a good kid. He came to us, I think he was 13 or 14. You could just see in his eyes, he really wanted to do it, very aggressive. Must have been the Irish blood or something he had in him, but yeah, he developed quite quickly. And just by his sparring, you could tell he was ready. That's why sort of Eddie got him out quite quick. He thought, this boy is he's decent, yeah, he's strong, he's committed, he really wants to do it, He used to sort of, I remember him, even from his diet and stuff like that, he used to ring his dad out and he'd be out with his mates and he goes, Dad, can I have a can of Coke? I know it's not very good for me, like at 14 years old. So he knew what he wanted to do, yeah. I think he had sort of maybe 6 fights for us, and then he wanted to move on, and he ended up going to Repton and doing quite well there. They took him on. And I think they was just as pleased with him as what we were. But he won national titles for Repton. Repton. I know he won a development title for sure, and then boxed in Nigeria and all sorts, and won Haringey once or twice. Yeah, and then he obviously wanted to turn pro, but it didn't work out, unfortunately, which is a shame, because I think he would have been up there with the boys as well, with the Noakes boys at least, or a bit ahead of them really, because that was a bit before. But yeah, so he's gone his own way, took his own path, and got his own gym going, doing quite well. Yeah. So
what's good about that though is giving back to the sport, like yourself, and it is. I think nowadays it's rare. I do. I think there were certain. When it got to a couple, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, the kids would finish boxing and they would just leave. Do you know what I mean? They wouldn't necessarily give back. So to see someone of his age group giving back to the kids, I
just think he liked going back to what I said. He was passionate about what he wants to do, is where his heart is. So as much as he wanted to box, he couldn't. So coaching, having your own gym's the next best thing, isn't it? So.
And what about yourself? So tell me about your journey before you got into actual coaching yourself.
Well, I wasn't a great boxer, to be honest. I loved the boxing, but it's that old chestnut, my nose kept going and bleeding, and but so I was in and out of boxing. I'd have a couple of bouts, and then I'd leave, and then I'd come back. I was a bit inconsistent, and I came back as a senior, had a few bouts as a senior, and again I left again, and then I think I was nearly 30, sort of 28, 29, and I got back into the gym for a bit of fitness, and I thought, do I really want to do it? Should I have another go? And I think if you're thinking like that, then it's a no. And but I love the boxing environment. I love the fitness it gives you. I love the community, the friend. It gives you a bit of a routine, doesn't it? And so my head coach Eddie Henderson, I was helping out other boxers more than I was training myself. I just couldn't not go to the bag and help them get their hands up or give them some advice. And he said, "Oh, look, I'm sending little Brad on his coaching course. You might as well go with him. I think you've got something. I think you could be a half decent coach." So I thought that was quite a nice compliment. So I had to think about it, being because I was still quite young. I wasn't sure if I wanted to box again or not. And I thought, I just went back. I said, yeah, put me on it. Why not? I'll do it. And I sort of consistently coached for about 18 years. A few years after that, I ended up along with James Cullen. He was like a Southern Counties development officer. And I said, I wouldn't mind doing it in the schools, doing a bit more of this. And he helped set up Olympia Boxing. Have you heard of Olympia Boxing?
I haven't actually.
Yeah, we had one of the mobile arenas, with the ring. And
yeah.
We had the very first one built.
Yes, yeah.
Or one of. And we used to go around in the hard-to-reach areas and set up boxing, get the kids on the bags, direct them to their local clubs. We even invited local clubs along. Like in Leicestershire, we went to Leicester. It was a beautiful day. It was quite lucky with the weather, and the park was packed, and we invited about 4 clubs down, and they all turned up, and they was taking names left, right, and centre, taking the kids on the pads. It really worked. That's how it's supposed to work. The arena was there. We was all working hard. You had 4 different clubs engaging in the kids and signing up the boys and girls that wanted to join their clubs. It was good.
I just saw you smile then, because I think a lot of people don't realise how much, before we even get to the fact that you do it for a job, right? How much work, how many hours an amateur coach has to put in.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I had a bit of a break in the end, because we was doing sometimes we were away all weekend with the arena, and then the next weekend you might have a lad in championships, you're away all then, and then in the gym 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
3 or 4 hours, because we was doing beginner sessions, junior carded sessions, boxing sessions, and then the seniors would come in, and they all want pads, they all want attention, and eventually it just catches up to you, like your shoulders start feel like they're falling off, and your elbows get sore, so it weren't so much the mental thing, really, because that sort of becomes a habit. You just go, it's what you do. It's your life. It's your lifestyle, isn't it? But I just felt like I was breaking down a little bit. I'm not that old, but I know some coaches do double what I do. I'm not sure they do it, but for me, I just needed a little bit of a breather.
I don't fault you for that, because it does. Sometimes you get this mad backache from. Effectively, you're taking somebody else's energy, like several people. Do you know what I mean?
In the schools, and sometimes the rural boxers, they're the hardest one to take on the pads. And there's some big, strong lads. I'm like 70 kilos. I'm about 11 stone. Some of these lads are 13, 14 stone, and they're like, can I have a couple of rounds on the pads?
Oh, please.
And you can't say no sometimes, but if they've been in the gym regular and you feel they've earned a bit of attention, then you give it to them.
For those people that aren't familiar with the kind of school setup, how does that work?
I think firstly, you got to get someone on board. You can approach the schools and offer your products. Like the guy with Olympia, Wayne Smith, he did a lot of the Tunbridge area when we started, and I was from Maidstone, so I tried the Maidstone area. And one of the first schools I worked in was St Augustine's, and their geography teacher absolutely loved his boxing. And he'd come along and we'd set up, maybe they'd set up like one term of boxing, so he was interested. I'd pay a couple of quid or whatever, and I'd rock up with my pads and my gloves and blah, 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 and we'd just get him started with the basics, you know, and it just grew from that. School absolutely loved it, and he loved it as well, because he'd get away from his geography teaching, come down in his tracksuit, and he'd see a different side to the kids, and the kids see a different side to him.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, yeah, and it just grew from there, and then few more schools, disability schools, behavioural problem schools have done, and they all, the engagement was pretty good.
For some people tuning in, they might think, you know, it's a you know, a contact sport. Kids are going to get hurt. What would you say to those people about the benefits of boxing?
Well, in the schools, it's non-contact anyway. You make that clear from the start, and that's when they get more interested, to be honest. As far as the contact, the schools are signposts to your local club. So when you tell a boy that he's doing really well, I think you should get in your local gym, then you know he's ready, and he's already thinking, yeah, maybe I could have a go at this. And then once they're in the gym, that's when the contact and the sparring, and they get medicaled and stuff. So like that, the school's just a first step. We make that clear from the start. This is non-contact. You know, it's footwork, pad work, partner work, fitness. Just give you a little taster, see if there's something there.
And not only that, just a bit of fun as well. And you learn to be competitive, but it is more geared towards fun as well and fitness,
it's
isn't it?
It's not your mainstream sport, is it? It's, you know, you tend to find one kid in the school is good at athletics, he's the best footballer, he's brilliant at basketball. But with boxing, it doesn't quite work like that. Sometimes these kids that not sure what they want, they don't always shine, stick out like a sore thumb when they put a pair of boxing gloves on. I've had a lad, I said, you should get into a gym. He goes, who, me? I said, yeah. I said, you take into this, you know, really quickly. And he said, what? But they all call me a mummy sport. I said, but don't worry, because the best sportsmen have the most supportive mums.
They need them.
Get yourself in a boxing gym. I said, having a supportive mum is a bonus. So yeah, that was actually Oscar Cole, and he boxed for us a little while, and he ended up winning a couple of Southern Counties titles. So, and he didn't even know he could box. Do you know what I mean? He didn't even know he wanted to do it until he'd done it in the school. So that's where the school works.
Yeah. Do you know what? And for people that don't know, as a coach, when you get a kid like that, you don't want to get too excited, but you get excited, don't you?
Yeah. Praise is good for kids, isn't it? Yeah, but you don't want false praise, because it's a tough sport. You know, it is a hard sport. So you've got to be, the best thing you can be to the kids is honest, you know. Praise them when they deserve it. And if they ain't quite ready, you tell them they're not quite ready, but it's not the end. Keep going. Be a bit of patience. Yeah.
And also, even if they don't compete past a certain age, those skills that you learn in boxing are transferable, aren't they?
Yeah. And like, not everyone's going to be a national champion or a Southern Counties champion. Not everyone's going to be a world champion. So sometimes your win is your first skills belt. It's the first time you put gloves on. Sometimes your win is your first spar. You've got to think where you started. You know, keep small steps, one go at a time. So some people just like being in the boxing environment. They don't want to compete. They want to go down the gym. They want to train, have a little spar. That's their happy place, you know.
Have you found over the years, right, that you mentioned obviously telling the truth, and I came from a club where, trust me, our trainer didn't lie.
No, I can imagine, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Mickey Carney never used to blow smoke up your backside, do you know what I mean? And it's a good thing. But do you see now a kind of change in everybody's a little bit too sensitive?
Yeah. I think that's sort of forced upon maybe the coaches and stuff now with the... they're not sparring until they're 10 now, are they? And you have every show you go to, there's a load of skills bouts, you know, 6-7 skills bouts, and there's no winner, no loser. And I'll get that maybe for the tinier ones coming through, but I don't think sport is about winning and losing. I don't think you need more than 1 or 2 skill spats. And if you're 14, 15, just get in there and have a go. You don't need a skill spat at 14, 15, do you?
But I do think a lot of them are a bit sensitive, though. Do you know what I mean? To criticism, constructive criticism, and it's like
the kids,
yeah.
Yeah. I think you have to balance it, don't you? Always finish the gym with a bit of a positive, but get your message across.
What do they call it? Well, they used to call it a shit sandwich, didn't they, back in the day?
Yeah, you could say, that you really need to get your hands out.
Because everyone seems to be really sensitive. They seem to be sensitive to constructive criticism. And I've seen a change over the years where back in the day, kids would swallow it and they wouldn't throw the toys out the pram. And now, I don't know, maybe that's just my experience.
I don't know. With the Instagram and the Facebook and the kids and the young men, they're under a lot more pressure, When I boxed, if I lost, I'd tell my mum, my dad and my mates would know and I'd get on with it and forget it. But now it's all over Facebook, Instagram, there's videos up. There's a lot of pressure on you to perform all the time, and so I sort of get it. But I suppose you have to coach that out of them early, don't you? Yeah. Well, you see it now and at the show, as soon as the kids and the cameras are all out, aren't they? So
yeah, it's true.
There's no hiding from it, really. I think the younger ones that come through don't know any different, so not bothered. But I think the old school are not so keen on all the cameras coming out. Yeah, just let them box. Yeah, take the pressure off them.
Exactly.
Enjoy it,
So in our first bout, we were never encouraged to invite friends and family and this and that one. It was just like, get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Don't make it a massive deal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Personally, I didn't really want my mum and dad there. Boxing was my little thing. As I've got older, I think maybe I wish they went to a few more. But yeah, we've just been in minibus with all our mates. Even on a Monday night, there were shows in Essex and stuff. I was saying the other day, about 89 30-kilo boys all lining up as spares to get on. The good chance you would get on because you didn't have the internet then. You'd just get a load of kids at a show. You're going to make a show one way or another.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got on, sometimes you didn't. Sometimes you was matched anyway. Sometimes you weren't matched and got on. So it was brilliant back then. And you didn't know who you boxed and you didn't ask who you was boxing. You just trusted.
It's true.
Trusted your coach. I didn't want to know.
You trusted your matchmaker. You didn't go, well, how many bouts has he had? And blah, blah. You're like, who's...
It's the same way as you, same age. You knew that and got on with it.
It's true, actually.
You thought that one was hard.
Yeah, or you just, you would never have questioned your coach.
No, never.
So what would you say has been like the most rewarding thing about coaching the young people?
The ones that didn't think they could do it or maybe haven't sort of progressed in other sports and have really got out there as a boxer and you watch their confidence grow. They get a team behind them, supporting them. It's not just the boxer, the families start glowing, don't they? And they get a little community, the mums and the dads, and they're all going to, the kids weigh in and then all the families go off, have a bit of breakfast and all chatting, you just bring people together that wouldn't have if it wasn't for the boxing. And even other clubs, kids from other clubs you meet and you go and have breakfast with them and a cup of coffee and a natter before the boxing starts. They're long days, aren't they? Long weekends.
They're long.
So what can you do but communicate with people, have a chat and get to know people?
It's true, actually, that the most unlikely friendships get made in boxing, I think. And some of my best times in London have been going to a show, do you know what I mean? And the jokes on the way there. And...
Yeah. It is a life. You can't just sort of pop in and out boxing when you're either in or you're out,
Yeah, 100%. And so you get a kid or you get two kids, the Noakes brothers. I think it was 2013. Sharon says she can't remember, but around that time they come to you. 2010, sorry, and they were 13. I think, Sam was 13, I think.
Yeah, they was both 13, but Sean started before.
A little bit before.
Yeah, and he's not a lot younger than Sean, so it's probably a year or so after Sean.
So can you remember the first time you kind of, not necessarily met them, but they kind of started to make you think, these kids are all right, they're half decent?
Honestly, with Sean, we see it, and Bradley, the other coach, we see it quite early. He got attention straight away because a lot of kids now around the bag, then they don't know what they want to do next. I mean, it was quite regimented, Westry. They'd be on skipping, bags, sparring, but, they didn't get a free run of the gym. You were on that for the next 3 or 4 rounds and you get on with it. But Sean, you could just tell he really wanted to be there. That was the difference. He wanted to go boxing. He'd be on the bag and he'd do what you asked, and he was like a busy little bee around that bag, and he was absolutely loving life. So again, we all sort of, he's going to box. He will box.
And also, just from a point of view that he was slightly overweight as a kid.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. He wasn't that bad. A little bit. If you get, you can get a little bit off him, but when he was ready, by the time he's ready for any sort of championship, he's fine.
What, Sharon call him a bit tubby?
Yeah.
Sharon, but again, to learn that discipline as a kid, you see the progression. Were there many kids like that, that were that dedicated? And
we've had a few in the gym. I mean, but it can turn like that. One loss or girlfriends, or as they get a bit older, maybe going to work and just too shattered, can't get to the gym. It's rare you get one stick with it. You're sort of year after year after year. Do you know what I mean?
Sam is going to be out on the 22nd of November against Abdullah Mason. Thinking about him walking in the gym, Sharon said he was a little so-and-so.
Yeah, he was.
Did you see a change in him, though, once he started to put his head down and that? Did you see a kind of...
Yeah.
Were you surprised by the change?
Not really. You sort of just roll with it, don't you? You don't... Because you're there sort of 3-4 times a week, extra change. You just sort of happens gradually and naturally, if that makes sense. I think after his first national title, the penny dropped. We believed in him and he was delivering, and I'm enjoying this now. It's full, and he's always a natural athlete. You didn't have to ask him to go running. He's obviously played such a massive part in his own success, doing the donkey work, the unseen stuff. With his running, his fitness, he's naturally strong. He's always, even people talk about his style now. He's not necessarily the kid you'd pull out to demonstrate a punch or a certain power. You'd probably go for Sean or someone like that. But what he is effective, and he does what he does very well. He's slightly flat-footed, wouldn't we say? He sort of bends his knees and he stalks his opponents down, but he's always done that. He's always been strong and sort of fixate. You couldn't change that if you wanted to. I think if you did, it'd go backwards. He's not one of these two-phase boxers, Olympic-style boxers, which is brilliant, by the way. But it wasn't Sam. Yeah, he was about pressure. It was a bit old school. He was a bit raw. We wanted him raw. We wanted him strong. He had the engine as well.
So you're from the southern counties, and generally what happens is you don't start to really hear about, unless you're kind of on the England setup, you don't really hear about some of the other kids in the regions. They used to be called regions then, can you remember?
Yeah.
But you never really heard of them until it kind of got to the championships. But you started to hear about Sam and this kid that was chopping, because he's always been like that, hasn't he? Proper strong, chopping kids up.
Who's this kid, 60 kilos, under 64, stopping everyone? That way, because they usually are that sort of like fast, like boxers, high tempo, like. And he was just different. He was quite refreshing, I think, for amateur boxing, because he's chirpy lad. We were going to London, all the OICs and that loved him, because I think he just offered something a bit different. You knew he was going to get a good bout. You're going to get 100%.
I saw him at the national championships.
Yeah.
But just tell everybody what he kind of won in the amateurs.
He lost his first bout, which he didn't like very much. And he realised, he had to start shaping out and training. This is not a game. Because he's a natural winner. We know that he's a natural winner. He's a competitor. He don't do boxing to take part or make up numbers. He wants to win everything. He wants to win running. What's that table? That tennis they do now. Is it paddle? Golf. Yeah. So everything he does, he wants to win. It's just in him. So he lost his first bout, and then he went on a 12-bout run of wins, and then we went out in a quarter-final of some junior ABAs to a 3-times national champion. Good kid called Charlie Kenny. I don't think he does it anymore, but he was a good kid. But he learned a lot from that. He knew that, that's your level, but he's got so much heart and determination. It didn't put him off. Straight back in the gym. And then we went on to win a couple of another Southern Counties titles, I think. And then he won the NABC's youth, and then the NABC seniors. And then we went out in the quarters of the ABAs the year after, at the elites. But that was the tricky thing, because then he was a young man, and I thought, I've got to keep him interested. That's just knocked us off our path. It's not the end of the world, because he was a little bit disappointed we went out in the quarters or the pre-quarters. So I've literally got him sparring like the week after. Normally you'd give him a break.
Yeah.
But I thought, I'm not losing this kid. I'm not losing. I've got to keep him interested. Didn't have a mark on him. He just got outboxed on the day the better boxer won. And I thought, I've got to keep him interested. So we went sparring, got his tail back up, he's sparring well and got him boxing again. So amongst the harangue and trips to Jersey and boxing for London, actually, in a rep match, he got back on track and won the Nationals the year after.
You've probably come across that you get people with natural ability and they don't always work hard.
No.
Or you get someone with natural ability and they lose and then you never see him again.
Yeah. I think this is part of the package. How many coaches have been frustrated with a boy? He's got everything. And they leave or they're as fit as a fiddle, strong as a bob, but just can't listen. You know, and this is why champions are few and far between. That's why they're special. And he has sort of, I wouldn't say he's got everything, but he's got most, if not all of the most important things, which is heart. He's strong. His engine's ridiculous. He's got that will to win. He makes the best of what he's got. You know, he's been so underestimated because he even said it himself the other day. He's not the most easiest on the eye, maybe the most beautiful boxer. But we've all got our own opinions. Some people love a forward fighter. You know, some people love the pugilist, don't they? The beautiful straight jabs. But he will fight and box the way he needs to win, the way he needs to get over the line. And he always seemed to find a way. And I think that's why he is where he is now. And with the pros, you know, he can actually learn it. Slow things down now. You're doing 12 rounds. They can polish him off. He was a rough diamond with us. And now they've sort of polished him into this quite composed, calculated boxer. He's still raw, he's still tough, he's still a forward fighter. But there's a lot of thought there. It's educated.
Like you just said, he finds a way to win. Yeah. What I really like about him is he's honest about his ability, about and to be fair, realistically, as long as someone does what they need to do to get, I don't think he looks that bad on the eye in terms of boxing ability.
No, that's what I mean.
Do you know
People
what I mean?
love, that's what I was saying earlier when we spoke earlier about it. It was quite refreshing. Some of the, especially when we went into London, they loved him. It was different, you know, it's old school, but, you know, it's forward fighter, pressure fighter. It's like going back a few years for him, I suppose, and they embraced it. His skill set very underrated. He's so hard to hear. People think, oh, you jab his head off, but you try and jab his head off. He's a clever kid. Don't underestimate him.
Do you know what I think it is? Is back in the day, remember the amateurs when amateurs used to box like pros, and then they kind of got the whole system in. I think probably just around 2012, maybe a little bit before that, they started to train differently. They started
to the scoring system.
Yeah, exactly.
Clean shots. With force, no holding. But they adapt, don't they? They adapt. Yeah. And that's why I think it's so clever what he did, because I'm not saying Sam, but he just knew what he could get away with in the amateurs. You know how strict the referees are and stuff like that. But he was clever. He knew what he could do. He knew what he could get away with. Going back to when we started taking the boxing really seriously, we used to come down and do a bit of strength work.
How old was he?
16, nothing too intense. And him, a couple of the other lads come down and we're using the battle ropes, bits and pieces. And we was playing around with the Atlas balls. Anyway, there was a 60 kilo one there, which is Sam's weight. So he said, we'll have a go at that then. So Andy showed him how to do it. Tuck your feet in, keep your back straight. So it's all nice and safe. And he's literally whipped it up on his first attempt. So he's lifted his body weight with ease. And anyway, then you got the 70 kilo one there. So he said, I'm going to have a go at that. You know what he's like, determined. I said, just be careful. You ain't got to do. What's your back, mate? Yeah, go easy. He goes, no, I'm not leaving this gym without having a go. So he just lifted it up, dropped it. Like that. But he's pissed himself right up. I'm not going till I lift that. So Andy said, right, get your feet in there, wrap your arms right and take your time and go when you're ready, explode. And he's lifted it straight up second time, 70 kilos. So it must have been at least sort of 8 kilos having in his own body weight. That's 16, yeah. It's ridiculous. It's the determination. He's obviously gifted and very naturally strong, you know. And this is why he doesn't float around the ring like a butterfly. He's not designed to.
He's not designed to. He's designed to just chop people down at the root.
Working down, chip away, pressure, you know.
And I asked Sharon this, but it'd be interesting your take as a coach. You know, he's just starting to really blossom. He's won, loads of things, loads of accolades. He wins the nationals, then he wins the bloody Tri-Nations. Do you know what I mean? And you think, oh, hello, he's ripe for England or GB, and then he turns over. What did you think when he said that he wanted to turn over? He gets this offer. What did you think?
I think the GB thing, I think he'd have got the opportunity. You always do when you win a national. So who knows what he'd have done on GB. But I think he sort of already made his own mind up. I'd have backed him and supported whatever he wanted to do. But people sort of saying, oh, he's already built for the pros, this, that. I don't think your style's built for the pros. I think it's more your mentality and your attitude to that sport's for the pros. There's so many talented people out there. I think you've seen all the different styles. That's what makes boxing interesting, He's no Ben Whittaker, Sam Noakes, is he? That style. And you've got Sam Ford fighters. And they'll all do all right in the pros. But it's the mentality. Are you going to buy it down? Are you going to commit? Are you going to live it?
People cannot, underestimate how much having a kid that had natural ability but was willing to work, that was a workhorse, that also, you didn't have to run behind and spoon feed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they want to do it. They want to be there. That's the main thing. I mean, this is it. Sam was getting this reputation, stopping this lad and that lad and stopping really good kids. But he didn't have it his own way. He had to work for that. Quite often was behind after the first round because the kids were so sharp and fresh. But he didn't panic. He stayed composed. He knew he'd catch up with them. He knew, we keep hearing this word, he's sort of a freak of nature. He's sort of a force of nature because he just keeps going. He keeps breaking them down. He just, it steals every bit of confidence they had. He's gone by the third round, they start gasping for air and he's still in their face. It wasn't always pretty, and that's what I was saying. He always gets over the line, but he's had to really work for that.
Yeah.
Very rarely he breathes through a bout. These were good kids he was boxing, really good kids. My head coach was sort of raising his eyebrows. You tell yourself, so a couple of times I matched him. I said, well, I've got to do it because no one wants to box him. Can't even get him sparring. So, you're sort of putting him out of his level a little bit, and he was still winning those bouts. So that's when people started, who is this Sam Noakes?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when I got the call. To be fair, they rang me first about someone from Queensbury rang and said, is he turning pro? Is he interested? And that wasn't forceful at all, but they was just asking what his plans were. And I think they was just trying to be respectful to me and our club by asking us first.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I think he does want to go pro, but he's on the cusp of getting his England best. He wants that. So nothing's going to be happening until he wins his England best. I said, once he's done that, talk to him. He's his own man, and we'll go from there. And that's what he did. He won the Nationals, box for England. And sort of rest is history, really.
He turns over and like everybody, they have to have those kind of learning fights, don't they? And I think people are a little bit mean sometimes because they'll say, oh, yeah, the first few fights, they're journeymen, but everybody goes through that.
They need to progress. They need to learn the environment and everything, don't you? It's a lot to take in one go. So we'd all like to see 50-50 fights, but careers would be really short. You've got to develop them and bring them through, and these journeymen are unbelievable. I think they're the toughest guys out there. They deserve so much credit because they have brought these fighters through, but I'd say Sam wasn't there to be a journeyman, was he? He's there to win things, but he's full of respect for his journeyman opponents. But I know a lot of people say he's not very nervous, don't get nervous, but he took them very seriously because the pressure's on. You've got to perform. And
especially nowadays, it's almost like you get pushed to the back of the queue if you're not. Do you know what I mean? If you're not performing.
I'm not in the loop with the pros. It wouldn't be fair to me to say that about the pro, but I know it's ruthless. But we sort of had confidence, Sam. It takes some stopping in the pros. Yeah. When I met Al and Eddie and stuff, I thought it's the right place for him. They're just like him. Very grounded, normal, nothing flash, tiny little gem. It was perfect for him.
He obviously turns over 2019. He gets those learning fights under his belt. Not too long before, he's campaigning for, obviously, belts. 2021, the WBC International Silver against Sean Cooper.
Yeah, it was there. Yeah, we went, his brother Sean was boxing up north, actually, and we managed to get back down in time to watch it, yeah. That was a good test. There was, I wouldn't say he was nervous about it, but I think that was probably his first, sort of, as you'd say, 50-50 fight on paper.
Yeah.
Obviously, we believed in Sam and we were going to get through it. but on paper it's a good bout. Yeah,
Queensberry have really sort of moved him along at quite a nice pace, to be fair.
Yeah, I think he's had some tough fights. I think he's made him look easy. A couple of them fighters were decent. They had a lot of belief, Calvin McCord and Sylvester. They were good fighters.
Lewis Sylvester.
Lewis Sylvester.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's got the credit for how he sort of went straight through him, really.
Lewis Sylvester was supposed to be a tough fight for him. Ryan Walsh was supposed to be a tough fight for him. Do you know what I mean? 2024, he had a really good year, didn't he? He picked up the British Light, the Commonwealth, the WBO International Silver, and the WBO International. And I think you touched on some of them when you just said, like, he makes it look easy. And so, to the untrained eye, I think people then think, oh, he's just been almost handed stuff on a plate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Ryan Walsh don't hand you nothing on a plate. That was a good win. He's a tough man. Good work rate as well.
I did think it was going to be tough for Sam.
Yeah, I thought they respected Sam. I thought they slightly underestimated him. I think they, and rightly so, he was confident in himself. I think he's going to old man Sam and take Sam to the trenches and places Sam hasn't been before. But we knew Sam's engine. It's going to be an exceptional fighter to sort of take Sam into dark places and give him a hell of a fight. Maybe some beautiful, exceptional boxer might give him a harder time one day. But no one's standing toe-to-toe for him at lightweight. And Ryan Walsh is maybe a little bit about that, about strength and power. Beautiful boxer as well. I'm not saying he's not a beautiful boxer, but I just fancied Sam. It was the right time, maybe the wrong time for Walsh.
When people are watching, obviously, these fighters coming through, they can only go on what they've seen, so they don't really know what's in the tank.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? So he's got this, he's got that, he's got this.
That's true, yeah.
They can argue, it's amateurs versus pros. It doesn't matter. You know that he's got the will to win, he's got the tank.
Yeah, going back to character.
Yeah, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we know most of this stuff is mental. Do you know what I mean? So you see things that we don't see, and then so you're kind of like, oh, wow. And I tell you what, Mendy, I don't think he gets enough credit for that Ivan Mendy, that EBU light. That kid's, I think he'd had 40 bouts at the time.
He's hard, man, yeah.
He's a hard...
You don't beat Luke Campbell unless you can box a bit, do you? He was hard, man, very hard, man. But again, this is where Sam's shown his development as a pro and his boxing brain. He was doing enough to win.
Yeah.
I was sitting back and thinking, he might get him out there if he put it on him a bit, but it's a bit of a risk against someone seasoned and strong like Mendy. The wheels can come off. But he thought, no, this is fine. What I'm doing is working. I'll take 12 rounds. A stoppage is a bonus. This is where he's developed and where he's been underestimated.
He doesn't get greedy though, because no. I think again, and I think that's also down to Alan Eddy. He's not allowed to, run off the rails in terms of the game plan. It's constantly bringing you back to just chip away. Because that for me was the coming out party, and I've said it before, but, just knowing that he can knock people out. Great, lovely, excellent. Yeah. Now let's see what else is in there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's going to have to find that. You have to prove that, You're not always going to have your cake and eat it. You're going to do the long haul sometimes. And he's shown he can do that now,
And then when we talk about this fight coming up with Abdullah Mason, 22nd of November in Riyadh. Wow. First of all, before we get into the whole, technical side of things, what is it like for you, somebody that's seen him as a kid, right, thought he had potential, and the boys and the girls in the gym, but then to see that come to fruition, what's that like?
It's a dream come true, really. I mean, but it's weird. It's like you have to pinch yourself sometimes, but then you think, I'm not surprised either. Not in an arrogant way, but he's done step by step and stuck with it, and he's just gone from strength to strength, hasn't he? And developed and doing it. And you think, why not? He just offers something different, don't he? Why not? Why not the little lad from Maidstone be a world champion? 2 arms, 2 legs, train hard. You've got the ability. You can bite it down, give it your best shot. Why not? I mean, I know there's more to it than that. You do need a bit of natural talent, but it's just showing what your desire and passion can do and heart can do, because technically he's not the best. but he just is good at what he does and believes in what he does. So it just shows you why not. I'm not shocked, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
do.
pleased, and it's a dream come true. It's a once in a lifetime thing for the town. We're not sure it'll ever happen again. I hope it does for one of the young fighters, but for a little town like Maidstone to have someone on that stage, got to embrace it. You've got to back him and support him. It might not happen again, but yeah, I think it might be a bit more emotional. I don't show a lot of emotion, but when it happens,
because I've seen you at ringside at the fights, right? And I'm going to say this, right, Lee. A lot of people forget their amateur coaches, right? They try to write them out of history. And one thing about the Noakes family is they keep you in the loop, don't they?
I think it sort of played out quite because we've had some good fighters out of West Street, but nothing like Sam, if we're honest. So you had the opportunity to work with him, extra sessions, extra time, and you're travelling all over the country trying to get belts and stuff like that. So you can't not come close, come like your own little family, and you get to know him inside out. Like he gets to know me inside out, and become really good friends as well. I think that's why we done well, because we was on a level. I didn't tell him to do this and tell him to do that. We'd sit down and talk and think, what do you think of this fella? What are we going to do here? We're like a team, do you know what I mean? We'd have I'd have him, of course I'd have input. I was his coach, but I'd listen to him as well.
So you almost had that democratic way of coaching without even know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's like you're treating them on a level.
Didn't try to complicate things. We'd look like in the national finals. I said, we're making this fight about you. We respect what he's good at, but we're not going to overthink it and suffocate you. You're going to do what you've always done. So,
You sound to me like the type of coach that didn't try to impose your will, your style on a boxer.
He don't want my style. It'll come second. No.
But do you know what I'm saying? I mean, even they're obviously good at what they're doing because of the coaches that they had. Do you know what I mean? So you got to kind of look at yourself and for a moment feel proud at the part that you've played in this.
I think I'm more proud that he's not wasted what he was capable of. Going back earlier when you miss talent and I leave the gym too early and not quite committed, and he's achieved what he's capable of. He's there. He deserves it. He's worked hard. He's got his rewards for his 5 a.m. runs, his strength work. The times he's boxed with niggling injuries, and a lot of fighters says, "Nah, call it off."
Yeah.
Even at 14, I think he boxed with a broken thumb. He shouldn't have done it, but he just wanted to box. There's no way he wasn't boxing. How he had it from the doctor, I don't know. But he got through that. And then I think that's the year he won his first. So, I think maybe that's when he got into the quarters of a junior championships. But again, it just shows you that he's not quitting for no one.
And this is the thing, right? I feel like, I don't know if you've been following the kind of storyline online. I think he's getting slightly underestimated.
He always has. He likes that. I quite like it as well. It's always been the way. We had it in the amateurs. Oh, you ain't going to get nothing in Liverpool. Or you go over to Jericho, you're going to have to box to get something over there. You know what I mean? You heard it, kid. You had this kid from that gym, gym.
Yeah.
But we'd heard it all before. It'd already been tested, because like going back to when I said I had to sort of overmatch him to get him boxing, and he was still winning. So mentally, he wasn't fazed by that. And this is where I was going back to. He's got a terrific amateur record, but he never had it his own way. A lot of them fights, even the stoppages, were really hard bouts, really hard.
They've had a kind of similar, and what I mean by similar kind of trajectory is they both didn't box internationally as amateurs. They kind of were national. They're both national champions. I think Sam was a senior champion. I think Abdullah was a youth and a junior.
Because he couldn't have been a senior. I reckon he must have turned straight over as soon as he could. Because he's 21 and had more belts than Sam. So I don't think he would have been a senior amateur for long.
So in that respect, they've kind of even Stevens, and then people are sort of like, I've just seen a lot of the comments, and I feel like Sam's been, and that's not to say Abdullah Mason is a talent. He is a talent.
I think that's going back to his style. They look at him, he's robust, he's strong, he's raw, he's forward fighting. I think he's just another one of those ones they think he can jab his head off or box round, and that's not the case with him. And you won't really understand it unless you're in there.
Unless you're in there.
Obviously, Al and Eddie see it because they get him top-notch sparring and with good kids of similar styles. So, they got the same belief I have, and now they've had him for 6 years. So it's easier said than done with Sam. Easier said than done, that's for sure. But I agree with you. I think he is slightly overlooked and underestimated. because he's made these Mendy fights and the Walsh fights look easy, so they still think he hasn't been tested.
Yeah.
It might have been better for him to have a right war and come through it and, with a dramatic knockout. And I call it Sam Noakes. I think he's come up under the radar. He's made tough fights look easy.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think one of two things happens when he went the 12 rounds. I think it's been 12 rounds twice, and then people start to think, he was knocking people out now, and it's almost like it was BS, and he ain't got that skill. And I said, no, actually, he's shown a different look. He's shown us those looks, right? Now he's shown us a different look. But what I will say is, he's never been on the floor. I don't know what about amateur, but he's never been on the floor.
No. Not even near it. I mean, you watch his pro fights. There's not one. You watch most pro fights, even the good kids coming through. There's been times where he's took a shot there and he's had to move off and have a breather and recover in the next round, and he'll go on to win. But I don't think he's dropped around personally, let alone take a really good. There's not one time I can watch him as a pro and think, you need to keep your hands up there, son.
Yeah.
Or it's been rocked and had to reset.
Never.
No. Again, and I think he needs credit for that.
I think he needs credit. So we could look at it one of two ways, though. So Abdullah Mason, I think going back to the styles, I think people sometimes, listen, the kid's got a nice style. It's easy on the eye. It's all a bit sexy and tasty. So I can see why people can get seduced by that.
I like him. He's a good fighter.
Good feet, actually, to be fair.
Beautiful, sharp southpaw. But it should be, they're boxing for a world title. He should be edgy. He should be a little bit nervy, Shouldn't be a given, but I think it's both their toughest tests,
I agree.
I quite like that, but he's never boxed no one like Sam. That's the thing. Sam hasn't boxed no one like Abdullah Mason yet either. This is what makes it interesting. They're not going to get given that world title. I think who wants it most? Who's going to bite it down?
I think
who's hungry for it? And you're not telling me Sam Noakes is not hungry for it. That's for sure.
I tell you what's interesting is I don't think Sam's face, correct me if I'm wrong, someone that moves as much. I mean, he's fought southpaws before. And again, I don't think he struggles against him. No, some people struggle against him.
Yeah.
But the footwork, I'm thinking, could be an advantage for Abdullah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he holds his feet as well at times, and he's got quite a wide stance, I don't always think that helps someone when you've got someone in front of you, because you need to be able to move quick. Sometimes that can slow you down, a wide stance. It's got good lateral movement, but Sam's not going nowhere. He will punch with you. That's the thing. And if he's letting his hands go, Sam's still going to be there letting his hands go as well. It might not all be pretty all the time, but it's going to good match. It's going to good bout. I'm looking forward to it. But I'm backing Sam all the way. I just don't think he's going to let Abdullah settle. He might have the early rounds when he's razor sharp and fresh, and all the tactics are fresh in Abdullah's mind. He's listening to his coaches. The early rounds might be tough for Sam, but Sam will be ready for that. It's nothing he sort of hasn't had before at some point in the past where he's been behind and had to sort of chase a fight, and he overcomes him with his strength. But I know it's a whole new, it's a world title fight. It's a whole new ball game. He's unbelievable fighter, Abdullah. But I still think it could pan out the way other fights have in the past because of his mindset and his heart. I hope it does anyway. But the Americans, they've got some brilliant lightweights, haven't they? And they rate him, so you've got to respect that.
Oh, absolutely. The intriguing thing for me is Sam has never been on the floor. He's never really been in the trenches, and that can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse, can't it? We've seen Abdullah Mason get off the floor.
I think Sam wants that. He wants to prove people we can bite down and have a tear up, but no one's took him to the trenches or asked that of him. That's not his fault, but he wants that. I think he wants to prove that. I think that you see the best of him when they're both maybe a little bit tired, gasping for air, their hands start dropping and the mistakes happen. That's when you're going to see the best of Sam Noakes. Yeah. You're going to get that fight you want.
I think we're getting it. Just as talking about it now is actually getting me, because it has gone under the radar, which is really, really, I think, quite sad. It's only really for me the last probably a week, 10 days that I'm starting to see loads of media stuff. These two kids, I call them kids, but grown-ass men. Do you know what I mean, though? These two they're a talent.
Yeah, they're opposite styles, but both very special. It's a perfect matchup, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just what you want. I think for him, it's going to be a new experience for Abdul. It's going to be a new experience for Sam as well. Yeah? But I think when you see him eye to eye, they're going to be both up for it, both respectful. No disrespect. They know you're in a fight. Yeah.
And that's what I like about Sam. He's never really played the game in terms of
No.
like being an arse.
He don't need to. He respects everyone, but what that opponent's in front of him that's the only thing stopping him on where he wants to be on an ABA belt or the Lonsdale belt. That's the only thing in front of him stopping him getting it. So he don't need to disrespect him because once that bell goes, he's coming for you. He's coming for that belt. He wants that title, and you're not stopping him.
It's one of them fights, I believe, that doesn't need all the needle because, again, both kids are really talented. Yeah. And so, therefore, that's enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's his way. Golovkins and stuff like that, they don't shout their mouths off. Yeah, their hands do the talking because they're capable, you know. I think a lot of the fighters, they have a little bit of this and that because they want to sell tickets. And I'm not sure they want to convince themselves they're going to do this and that to that person, but they get caught in the moment, and like you going back to somewhere sensitive, and then it snowballs into this little well. But he don't play that game, Sam.
I think also, though, some people try to play a character, and I don't think it's necessarily their fault.
Yeah,
I think they're encouraged to play a character, and it's just like, I guess that's part and parcel of it's entertainment.
I'm not in the pro game, so I don't know if they're really pushed to encourage. I know that a bit of niggle does sell tickets, doesn't it? You know, you think these two really want to hurt each other. People are going to put the bums on seats and have a watch, aren't they?
Even if they hate a fighter and all.
Yeah. But it makes it interesting. But with like the Sam, that you don't need to do that.
Shakur Stevenson, Sam gets a phone call to spar him. Was you around at the time, or did you watch it?
Everyone knew about that, really. Yeah, because Sean's mentioning people. Yeah, I'd like to. I think they he said I could come up because I do go and watch him spar now and again, and I thought I'm going to get a phone call saying I can't go in a minute. I sort of knew, and then he said, "Sorry, Lee, I was closing the gym." I said, "Don't worry, just go and get on with what you want to do." I sort of half expected that. Yeah. He's like pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world, you know. He's not got any Tom, Dick and Harry turn up and watch the sparring. But I'd have liked to have watched it, but it wasn't sort of down to his team or Midge. He'd have loved me out there to watch. But
to be fair, also, I understand because unfortunately you get some people that they can't keep their mouth shut about what happens in the... Like, I see sparring all the time and like...
Sparring should stay sparring. You need each other. And then the last thing you need to do is a little snippet of a photo or say this happened, that, and you've lost that sparring partner.
Yeah.
You know, you need that respect, you know. You know, you're building each other's careers. It's a really important preparation. So leave the sparring, what happens in the gym.
So first of all, apparently I saw an interview where Sam said, Shakur's gone, right, we'll do 4-minute rounds. And of course he can't say... He can't say no.
No. It's sort of out of camp as well. But like I say, Rich won't say no. He'll never go. You know, it could only be good for him. You know.
I was going to say, if you're out of camp and you can mix it,
he always finds a way, even if it's sparring. You know, and he doesn't take the sparring. Obviously, he takes it seriously as a part of his training. But if he has a bad day at the office, he doesn't beat himself up for days over it. Do you know what I mean? So. Yeah, he's only going to develop and improve from sparring and sort of gauging himself from, like he said himself, with Shakur Stevenson. You know, you sort of can gauge where he's at.
Sam isn't a person it's kind of, he's not very boastful or, do you know what I mean? But Shakur Stevenson said of Sam, truthfully, I ain't going to lie, he's probably one of the strongest fighters that I've been in the ring with at 135 pounds. Yeah. He's got a lot of power. He's real tough too. Good fighter.
Yeah, sure. He hasn't got really nothing to prove, Shakur Stevenson, has he? He's there. He's the greatest lightweight. So obviously he's got more fights ahead of him. But why wouldn't he tell the truth? Because he knows what he can do and deliver. So if he thinks Sam's strong, he's going to tell him strong. If he hasn't got to hide nothing back to sort of big himself up. He's the best lightweight out there at the moment. But so I don't think he's got any reason not to be truthful about Sam. Well, we know he's strong anyway, so there isn't a stronger lightweight than Sam out there.
What sort of confidence, though, did Sam take away from that, or was it literally just...
Yeah, I wasn't there, but I've talked to him. When you're getting your own shots off and you're blocking shots, he was razor sharp for the first couple of rounds, which was to be expected. But then, you know, I think he had his say in the spar. It was a spar. It wasn't all one-way traffic.
I'd
From
love
what
to
I
have
hear,
seen
you know, he's
that.
very respectful. The guy's unbelievable. We said that how fast he was and his footwork, and Sean said the same. But yeah, he's mixing it with them.
Yeah.
And if you're only getting better, that can only be a good sign. You know, Sam's still developing, still learning, still improving. So
I like his mindset, though, as well, that he saw it as an opportunity to gauge where he was.
yeah,
Again, just keeping himself humble. That's the word I'm looking for. Sam Noakes is a humble guy.
yeah, he's human.
He really
you know,
is.
Sometimes he don't feel like sparring and stuff, but he goes. He don't feel like training. So he's human. You hear how strong he is. He's a beast. He's this and that, but he's not some sort of madman that's got no emotion. He's just like you and me. He's just your average lad, but with this ridiculous physical strength and ability and determination. But away from the gym, he's just like anyone else. You know, he's the nicest, friendliest guy you could meet. He'd do anything for anyone, you know.
It appears to me that with the family unit, the fact that you're going out, he's got loads of friends, extended family. I mean, that says a lot about
Yeah.
a person, doesn't it?
I think it also says they know he's going to give it his all. You know, people ain't spending £1,000 plus for someone that's not even going to turn up or try or well out of their depth. They believe in him. They know they're going to give 100%. You know, that's why we're all right behind him. We can sort of see this special day happening, you know, bringing that belt back to Maidstone. That's the thing.
What will it be like for you when that ring walk music kicks in?
Yeah, I don't know. From a coach's side of it, I don't know. I'd like to be a little more emotional and passionate. I'd like to be, but I start thinking boxing. Keep your hands up, son. Keep that chin down. Don't get too carried away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll start thinking about what I find it really hard to shout and scream my mouth off and concentrate on the bout of the boxing match at the same time. It's like some of the pro shows. I do shout a bit of instruction here and there, but he's got his coaches to do that. Sean's brilliant at it. You can hear him from miles. But I'm so indulged in what it's doing, you know, and the sort of emotion goes away from it. And then he's over the line, you know, have sort of a bit of a come down here. Well done, boy. You know what I mean?
You're still invested then heavily.
Yeah, I want to follow him all the way. Yeah, I really care for the boy as well. He's done so well for himself and our club, our little club, you know. So the journey's not finished. I just sit back with the family and friends. You know, he's not my boy to train no more, but I am invested. That's probably the best word.
Yeah. And you talk about, obviously, you know, having that kind of fan base. We were in the gym earlier on, not your gym, but we were in a gym earlier on, and there's pictures of Sam and Sean on the wall. They obviously, again, they give back to the community, don't they?
Yeah, Maidstone is like a one big boxing fan. They all sort of got Mason Payne and come through, Jimmy Dean, Moses Helmer just up the road. They're all really close. Mick and Moses are great mates. Yeah, really good friends. And they're all backing each other. Yeah, it's a good little community. But Maidstone hasn't had this ever, I don't think, in a boxing terms. They always had boxing clubs and people passionate about boxing, but I don't think they've had, we've sort of been put out there as much.
Do you know what's lovely as well? The fact that they've all transitioned together and they're all doing really well. And most importantly, they've all had that good foundation from amateur boxing.
Yeah, I think the belief as well. If Sam can do it, I can do it, you know. And Moses is just something a bit different. But
can you remember him on the circuit? Moses.
Yeah, well, no one ever wanted a
No one wanted to box him, did they?
I think that's why I can't speak for him, but you know, in these stories, he said he fell out of the love of it.
Because he couldn't get about.
Well, he was training, he was turning up for the gym, he was sparring, he was putting the donkey work in and not boxing, and I don't sort of blame him, but I think that's why he transitioned to pro so quick. I think if he was busy, I think he might have gone to GB, but he'd had enough, he wanted to get out there. So.
He's one of them kids that when they're juniors, you have to put them in with the seniors because they're smashing kids up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he'd done sessions in our gym. He's a St Mary's boy, wasn't he? But he had a couple of sessions in our gym, and sometimes he was 16 years old, and all the others are doing these sessions and drills, having a right laugh and fun, and you had to get him involved. But you know, he's a grown man, he's a powerhouse, but you couldn't leave him out. So sometimes he'd like do it like 2-on-1 sort of. Technical sparring drills, and he had time of his life. Like it was a good laugh, but yeah, very special.
But listen, I was hearing about him and Carol.
He's no secret to the amateur coaches.
It really
and a lot
wasn't.
of the pros, to be fair, he wasn't no secret. I mean, to the media and some of the casual fans, who's this kid? And they were saying,
mate,
you ain't been tested.
14. Listen,
no.
when he was 14, people were talking about him, going, he is a handful. And yes, we can argue, don't go on sparring, etc. But we've just gone into the fact that he couldn't get about. When people look at someone and go, nah, no thanks.
Nah, and that's why he was getting so frustrated. You imagine being 16-year-old and all your mates are boxing, winning titles, and you just can't even get out there, although he's training as hard.
And you're sitting there in the crowd.
Professional men in different gyms, you know, McGuigan's gyms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad he's up and running now. Yeah, the boxing should be thanked I didn't lose him.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, I think the sparring helped, because I would have liked to have seen him stay amateur, but I also understand the frustration of not being able to get the experience. But again, I don't want to see him rushed. I don't want to see him rushed in the
I think now that talk of the youngest world titles gone, the Tyson record. No, they don't really need to chase that. Take your time with him, you know. Take your time, because he can't win if he gets thrown in the deep end. People will moan, and if he's boxing, people think, I don't know, he's going to beat or deal with quite comfortably. He's going to get criticism. He's just stay in his lane. He's a level-headed fellow. He knows the crack. He's not silly. Just there's no need to rush him. Develop him. Bring him through.
I think he's the next big thing.
Yeah, and he'll be around a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
There's no rush now. No rush. It'd have been lovely to see that record, but boxing politics don't let that happen these days, does it? You know, I think Tyson had like 30 odd belts by the time Moses had 15, wasn't he? So it's changed. You know, I think it's Ricky Hatton. God bless him. He same stage at Sam Noakes is now. I think he'd had over 35, 40 fights. It's the demographics have changed, haven't they?
Yeah, the whole. Yeah. I think they were developed longer. You know, they would have more. I would say they would have more learning fights.
100%. The journeymen were out there to fight. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they had to. Yeah.
So I think everything's about money, time and effort, and money nowadays. It's like
no one wants a loss on their record either. I don't think.
Which I get why the fighters don't want a loss, because they don't want to. Basically, they get put back to the beginning kind of thing. They have to work their way back up. But in the grand scheme of things, like we've just said, it doesn't matter.
No, it's development. Sometimes you don't move forward, you just learn about yourself.
Well, listen, I wish the team, because you are part of the team, I wish the team all the luck, because it's a beautiful story seeing you bring these kids through and then still being part of their life now as adults. And testament to your hard work.
Yeah, cheers.